What up, y'all? Kevin McCree. I'm on some chilling shit. Chilling for the Corona shit on a Saturday. I ain't doing absolutely shit because I got to. But yeah, man, this is I'm a boxing fan. Y'all already know I'm an NBA fan. I don't know how loud this is. Y'all already know I'm an NBA fan, but I'm a boxing fan too. Big boxing fan. Been watching boxing, man, about 20 years, about 25 years. I'm 40, so I think my first recollection of boxing was probably like Sugar Ray Leonard and Duran. My grandpa used to make me watch those VHS tapes he had of them fighting. So I grew up on like Sugar Ray. I'm named after Sugar Ray. I grew up on Tommy Hearns. He was my favorite welterweight for a long time because he was tall and skinny like me, and he was knocking out everybody. So I could relate. But to Bud and to Terrence Crawford and Pacquiao, I hear they're going to fight. So I watched SportsCenter today. That's all they're talking about is those guys fighting. It's not even official yet, but I think it'll happen. I think it'll happen. Uh, there should be no reason Bob Arum's scared to uh, let Bud fight that guy. Well, whoever Bud's guy is, I think it's Bob Arum. I get Bob Arum and Al Heyman mixed up. Al Heyman, ain't that a wrestling nigga? Never mind. Disregard that shit. I'm just saying. I think the fight will happen. Uh, I don't think Bud. I don't think Manny Pacquiao got Freddie Roach as a trainer no more because Freddie Roach been acting all bitch made and scared for Manny to fight people. So I think Manny. I heard Manny was like, fuck Freddie Roach. Then because he be wanting to fight motherfuckers, and Freddie Roach be trying to protect him. And I get that protecting your fighter, but sometimes that shit do make it look like you ain't got no confidence in your fighter. That's not a good look in boxing. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, props to Manny for trying to take this fight at 42 years old. Manny's one of the greatest in my opinion. No doubt about it. I mean, 8 divisions, uh, multiple classes. I mean, he was pound for pound at one time for a while. Everybody know legends. Everybody know Manny's his prowess. You know what I'm saying? Uh, People say don't underestimate him. I mean, you don't supposed to underestimate nobody. Uh, but this is my thing. I want to really talk about the racial undertones in boxing. We know what's in sports in general, but in boxing, it's part of it. I think the racial undertones always been a part of boxing. I don't think it's taboo to talk about it. I really like to talk about shit like that. I don't like to hide and act like that shit's not going on, and it is. You know what I'm saying? We've all known that black boxers, um, they have the ability to fight at any weight because we can be any size. Black people can be little from lightweights all the way to heavyweight. So you're gonna see black boxers in every weight, and you're gonna see talent of black boxers in every weight. Uh, Latino boxers, they're great. You know what I'm saying? Like they produce so many champions too, but they only can get so big. You know what I mean? So you really don't see too many heavyweight Mexicans boxers or light heavyweight or I think middle is probably as high as you see them. Well, I don't even see a lot of them at middle. Canelo's represents that Mexican flag, but Canelo's have Canelo's able to gain weight. You know what I'm saying? What's he fighting at light heavy right now? That's that white gene in him. He can get big. He can put some pounds on him. You know what I'm saying? Uh, so this is my thing. I say that race shit to say not to be racist or nothing. I'm just saying that to say that there is, the racial politics to this shit. Like you get fans of Manny Pacquiao because he's a great boxer of any nationality, right? Then you get fans of Manny Pacquiao because he simply isn't a black boxer. You know what I'm saying? It's people. If Manny Pacquiao had the same career that he had, right, but he was black, you would have Mexicans talking shit about him. You would have white people talking shit about him. You would have, that's just how it is, man. Like, people are really happy to see a non-black boxer doing really well. I mean, it just is what it is. That's sports in general, because usually in sports, black people are always fucking doing well. And a lot of people that ain't black get tired of seeing that successful ass black shit. That's just facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what my podcast is about, truth. I like to spit the truth. I like to talk about shit that people know is going on and they don't really like to mention it, don't really like to talk about it. People try to act like that shit don't exist. But knowing damn well they picking they winner off of what race he is, what nationality he is. For instance, I remember when Conor McGregor fought Floyd, do you know it was more fucking Irish flags in the crowd than it was American? And a lot of people that had Irish flags was American. They was rocking with Conor because he was white. You know what I'm saying? But Floyd's American. You had white people in America rather roll with the white guy for Ireland than the black guy from America, and they're from America. The fans. So I saw a lot of that, man. That shit was weird to me. It didn't surprise me, but it was weird. So you know what I'm saying? Like, so I say that to say I'm looking at the comments on YouTube about the Bud Crawford and potential Manny Pacquiao fight, and I see a lot of like pro Manny Pacquiao, pro Manny Pacquiao. Like, people were talking about Bud like he was just like a Sean Porter ass dude or something. You know what I mean? Like a good test or something. Like, Bud is one of the greatest. He's arguably pound for pound right now, and he's really one of the greatest at welterweight. Anytime you can you like he beat everybody at 140. He wiped out 140. I forgot the term for it, where he got every belt you can get in 140. Nobody's done that in a weight class since, I think they said, Marvin Hagler, or was it Hagler? No, no, I'm wrong about that. Nobody's done that since. Damn, who was it? I need to do my research. I ain't been on my shit lately on that. But if y'all know y'all shit, you know what I'm talking about. Like, Bud disassembled 140. He wiped out 140. Decimated it. That hadn't happened, I think, since Sweet Pea or somebody, you know what I mean? Since Pernell with it. Somebody did it. I can't remember. Somebody great did that a while ago, a long time ago. Or Hockey, I can't remember. But I'm hearing all this stuff like Manny's getting all this props for taking the fight at 42. Yeah, you get props for that because he easily could have just tried to fight somebody better. I mean, somebody not as good. Get props for that. But I ain't about to just act like he gonna win just because he got the courage to step in there with a young lion. And I mean, props to him for that, but that's about it. You know what I'm saying? Uh, I'm rooting for Bud because that's hometown shit. Omaha, Nebraska. That's where I'm from. So I'm hell yeah, I'm a roll with Bud. But Bud is a switch hitter, stronger than he look. His power is very deceptive. He got another level of power too. Like when angered, like Bud gets a little stronger when he's mad. Like a lot of people do, but some people's adrenaline, they have they have different doses of adrenaline and testosterone that they get when that adrenaline starts going up. Some people get stronger than others. And Bud, if you notice in that Gamboa fight, when he started getting pissed off, he just started knocking Gamboa down every time he made contact with him. Um, but I think really that's just the street fight. That's the street fight in Bud. Like, Bud ain't no joke. He can fight. He's a fighter. He's a fighter that learned how to box. Put it like that. So he know how to fight first. You know what I'm saying? And that's unorthodox. That's non-fundamentals, just instincts, knowing how to fight, knowing how to get off, knowing how to avoid contact, uh, instinctively. He's a natural fighter. Then he learned how to box and put that natural fight shit with boxing. So that's a problem anytime you got to deal with somebody that understands both worlds. And he's a switch hitter. There hasn't been a switch hitter like that since Marvin Hagler. Rest in peace. So I wouldn't just jump ship because Manny's one of your favorites. Like you got to keep it real. This dude's 42. And if you're gonna give props to him just for being 42, I mean, I didn't hear all this love when Bernard Hopkins was fighting till he was 43, 44 plus. Bernard Hopkins was older than 42 and was still beating people. He wasn't fighting champions though. So I just think people need to pump their brakes with that. I mean, I can't tell you who to root for. You're gonna like who you like. But the reasoning for why people are picking who they pick is crazy. I'm just like, get the hell out of here. You got people talking about if he might be the GOAT, just if he fights him, he might be the GOAT. You got people saying if he beats him, he might be the GOAT. I'm like, how can he be the GOAT if he beats a 32, 33-year-old Crawford and he lost to Floyd Mayweather and he got knocked out a couple times in his career? I ain't even talking about the Marquez fight. Manny been knocked out before that. We just didn't know who Manny was when he was getting knocked out back then. Um, I've heard some things about Marquez. Some people say he was on steroids when he knocked out Manny Pacquiao. Um, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He did look a little stronger than he normally does. I know when you're on steroids, your traps kind of pop out, and he has some traps, and Marquez never had traps before that fight. So he might have been on something because he showed put Manny to sleep. Um, but you could also look at it like this shit. That was like their third fight. So I mean, you give a motherfucker that many times to download you, they gonna figure out something. You know what I'm saying? So you can look at it that way too. But I'm not gonna act like I didn't entertain the idea of Marquez being on steroids because he might have been. But why is the Manny Pacquiao fans act like steroids has never been around his career? There's always been speculation of Manny Pacquiao been on steroids or some kind of PEDs. Nobody starts off as small as Manny Pacquiao did and moves up in weight, stopping guys that are naturally the weight that he's moving up to and shit like that. Like Manny was moving up to like Cotto's weight and stopping him. You know what I'm saying? Like I've always thought that was suspect. Nigga, you ain't Bruce Lee, bro. Like little motherfuckers ain't that strong. Usually, if you got knockout power like that, you had it from day one. You just don't get that shit out of nowhere. Because Manny wasn't even stopping guys his own size. When he was tiny, when he was like featherweight, he wasn't even knocking out guys his own size. Now he starts moving up, knocking out guys, making bigger guys retreat. I'm not being no hater or nothing. I'm just saying that don't really happen in boxing unless you was doing that from the beginning, like Lil Tank Davis. Tank Davis been knocking out motherfuckers since he showed up, knocking out motherfuckers in amateur, breaking sparring partners' noses and shit. Just hit real hard in both hands, dynamite from day one as a little ass dude. That's that's power. That's real power. When you see somebody knocking out motherfuckers from day one, that's natural power. Mike Tyson was strong like that at 16, 15 years old. He could knock out grown men at 15, 16. He's always had that power. He just didn't obtain it out of nowhere. So for Manny Pacquiao fans to be all on his scrotum like that, just take that into consideration. People with knockout power don't get that shit out of nowhere, and they damn sure don't move up and stop guys. I can see you going a distance or something, but you're not about to just be stopping guys. You know what I'm saying? Like when Sugar Ray was moving up, when he moved up to middle and fought Hagler, he didn't stop Hagler. He was trying to get away from Hagler the whole fight. Con around, but he boxed towards the last 13 seconds of the round and make sure that's the last thing you remember. The judges remember is his little flurries in the last 10 or 13 seconds of the round, and Sugar Ray Leonard stole enough rounds. I still think Hagler won, but it was close. So you know, I don't feel like Hagler got robbed. I just feel like That shit could have gone either way. And when it's that close, you that's your job as a professional not to let it be that close and leave it in the judge's decisions. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to leave it up to them. He should have did a Hagler should have did a little more work just to make sure that Sugar Ray can't steal that fight. But Sugar Ray was brilliant, man. He was brilliant. Um, but and then this is another thing, man. Like I've heard people say Bud hasn't fought anybody. Man, this dude beat a whole weight class. 140, the whole weight class. If you want to say that there was no contenders in that weight class, I mean, that's okay. You can say that, whatever. But you act like Bud is like picking out his fights and picking out his contenders and picking out what weight class he is like nigga. That's what his weight. He was 140. He had to fight at 140. Like he fought everybody they put in front of him. You know, Bud's a real laid back dude. He's not all with that rah rah shit. If he does any rah rah, it's because he's trying to make some action happen. He's trying to make some action happen. If Bud ever really gets talkative and opens his mouth, otherwise he's just a laid back dude. But he's not one of those dudes just doing all that for the camera. You know what I'm saying? He's doing all that because he's trying to get your ass in the ring with him. Because he really believes he can whip that ass. Um, but you can't really fault a guy for fighting who they put in front of him. Like, you want to say he ain't fought nobody. In my personal opinion, I think Bud has had a couple tests. I don't think his competition has been as tough as Errol Spence. I think Spence fought more tested guys like Porter. I want to see Bud fight Porter. I think that would be a really good fight. But you can't put any of that on Bud. You can't put any of that on him. Um, if anything, you got to blame the promoters and the managers, and you gotta blame the fighters. A lot of those guys simply don't want no smoke with Terrence Crawford. They just don't want to fight him. You know, good boxers know another good boxer when they see one, man. And a lot of them guys are dodging TC, man. If they're not dodging them, their promoters dodging them. You know what I'm saying? Because they know Bud Crawford will whoop their fighter's ass. You know, they're stalling on the Spence fight because they know if Bud and Spence fight, who else they gonna fight? They the best. Them two are the best out there. That's who everybody want to see fight. So if they fight, win or lose, who are they gonna fight? Who's gonna pay millions of pay-per-view dollars to watch them fight dudes that they know they already can beat? And the only reason people are paying for it now is because we're just seeing if they're gonna lose up until they fight each other. You know what I'm saying? But people starting to realize they're not gonna lose until they fight each other. But for real though, if Terrence and Spence fight, whoever wins, they ain't gonna be able to fight nobody else but each other. They're just gonna have rematches and trilogies and shit. But I would at least do that if I was them. At least get the rematch money, get the trilogy money, and retire. Fuck it. It's just what it is. And in their weight class, in this era, they as good as it gets. It just ain't nobody really there. And I think that's fucked up because a lot of people, a lot of greats, if you're great, you're great. I don't care what era, what decade. If you're great, you're great. But this is the problem I be seeing because we got spoiled with so many greats before now, like in the 70s and the 80s, especially the 80s. It was so many greats at welter and stuff. We just got spoiled. And now it's a new generation, it's a new decade, and the competition isn't as across the board as it was in those 80s. That doesn't make the fighters that are great right now not great. They're still great, man. And you can't knock those fighters because their pool isn't as deep when Sugar Ray was fighting. It's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? But you can't take away nothing from these dudes. They can't control the era or the decade that they were born in. Obviously, you can't control that. When Roy Jones was dominating that middleweight for 8 years straight, I don't really think he had a lot of competition in that weight class. But I never knocked Roy Jones for that. He just whooped whoever ass they put in the ring with him. You know, you know. Um, so now don't get me wrong. I do say stuff like, "Well, this guy played better competition." I'm not saying that necessarily makes that guy better, but I do think when somebody plays in a better competition or they fight better competition, you do have to take that into consideration. Like as far as just consider, like my thing is just acknowledge that. That's all. Just acknowledge this guy played better competition than this guy. Even if this guy was better that played lesser competition, all I'm saying is at least acknowledge, uh, you know, that whoever played better competition. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that makes them better. I'm just saying acknowledge that. Um, but at the same time, you can't knock the guys for playing the competition that was available. You know what I'm saying? Like in basketball, I tell people all the time, I think Kobe played better competition than Michael Jordan. Does that make Kobe better? That's a discussion for a different day. Does that make Mike look a little better playing lesser competition? Probably so. But nobody even takes that into consideration because Mike was so great. But people are selective about that. Mayweather was great, but they'll say he didn't fight guys like Tommy Hearns and Hagler and Duran and Sugar Rays and all those guys fought each other back then. They were all super battle tested, which is true. But people are still being selective because people don't do that for Michael Jordan. They don't say, "Oh, he didn't play a prime Dirk Nowitzki, a prime Tim Duncan, a prime Kevin Garnett. He didn't play a prime uh, Iverson. He didn't play a prime Dwayne Wade, a prime Kevin Durant." Jordan didn't play none of that shit. He was playing, John Starks and Reggie Miller, Craig Elo, Hershey Hawkins, uh, Hornacek, and Reggie Miller. I mean, I already said Reggie Miller, Gary Payton. But I'm saying, obviously, the 2000 decade, it was better competition than 1990 competition. But people ignore that shit and say Jordan's the best anyway. So I just think people are real selective about that bullshit because, like I said, when it comes to Sugar Ray Robinson or somebody, they'll say he's the GOAT or whatever because his record is ridiculous. You know what I mean? As far as how many bouts he had, but nobody questions the guys that Robinson beat. A lot of them were cab drivers, bartenders. They weren't even professional boxers. Back in those days, you can get $400 for a prize fight real quick, 2 weeks notice, and that was a lot of money back then. So a lot of guys will take those fights, and that's this is what I'm saying. Mayweather's got the record for beating the most world champions in boxing history. Mayweather's beaten more guys that had a green belt around their waist than anybody in boxing history. And you still got guys ignoring that. I don't even know if they know that. You got guys saying he picked fights and all this shit. Well, you ain't picked too many fights if you fought the most world champions ever. Um, that means you picking world champions to fight. You ask me. So all I know is Bud is from Omaha, Nebraska. I've heard people say stuff like, "Oh, Manny Pacquiao's from uh, where's he from? I'm trying to think of the city. I know he's from the Philippines, but Manila. I think he's from Manila, which is like really, really rough, really poor and rough. Now, Terrence Crawford's from Omaha, Nebraska, and they were pretty poor. His family grew up, not a lot of money. Not third world poor, not second world poor, but poor. Like for the United States, poor. You know, um, And that's usually why a lot of black athletes are dominant because we come from impoverished backgrounds. It's a struggle. You always got to work a little harder than your white counterparts, and just to be noticed, you know, just to get a shot at anything, a job, anything. So black Americans are used to that. We used to having to go a little harder in the paint than most to just get by. That's normal to us. So when I be seeing comments and I'm hearing people say stuff like, Pacquiao's from this hard life and that's why he's so strong and that's why he works so hard and he's a Christian and all this. Those kind of statements to me say you're only paying attention to Manny Pacquiao because Bud ain't no devil worshiper. Terrence Crawford ain't no evil ass dude. He got God in his heart, you know what I'm saying, in his conscience and his psyche. Um, he been poor his whole fucking life until he got some money from boxing. Um, he been shot before, shot in the head. He didn't overcame a lot of shit. Most black youth in America that become successful did go through a lot of shit. So let's not try to act like Pacquiao's endured some shit that that's so different from the average black person in America. Like a lot of us, we don't come from no fucking wealthy ass homes and backgrounds. You know what I mean? So miss me with that shit. That Nick Manny Pacquiao not about to win off of I'm from the Philippines and I grew up poor. If that's your reasoning for him winning, you need to come up with some better shit than that. Because like I said, every damn near every black motherfucker in the United States grew up like that, along similar lines. So go on with that shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you right now, Bud Crawford had fought niggas on the street that's bigger than any welterweight that he's ever going to encounter in boxing. Or he didn't fought black dudes in the street that's bigger and tougher than a Manny Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about without no rules, no referees and shit like that. And he'll come out with the W anyway. So the man was doing that before boxing. So, but all in all, back to the fight, I think it's good for boxing. I think it's good for the sport. You know what I'm saying? It's good for sports in general. We need some eye candy with this Corona shit. We need some exciting shit going on. I hate to see talent like Bud Crawford just sitting around, not boxing, not banging. And we need to see world class talent like that in the ring doing this thing. And Pacquiao's a great. They're both champions. So you always get your greatest fights when you got champions fighting against champions. And then one of the champions is undefeated. That's always gonna put you on the edge of your seat because you're gonna see if he stay undefeated or if he catch that L, you know what I'm saying? And like I said, the racial undertones, you got the black fighter against the 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 Filipino fighter. Uh, that's always if you're into that race type thing, like that does get people into it, but I don't really care, man. I just like to see good boxers going at each other. It's just hard to see good fighters in the ring with each other. When I was younger and I used to watch Sugar Ray Leonard and Hearns, I thought that was normal for great fighters to pair up against other great fighters. I just thought that was normal. But nowadays, it's kind of hard to get that to happen because everybody's so scared of losing. You know, everybody's so scared of losing because it's hard to make fights once you when you depending on what type of fashion you lose in. Uh, but I don't understand it though, honestly, because these guys got such of a fan base, both of them. People would still support them. Look at Manny Pacquiao; he's been knocked out sleeping with his hands under his dick, and he still got millions of fans that'll put all their money on him. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see what the point of being all scared of losing for these boxers because they're not going to lose their fan base. They're not going to lose their fan base. You know what I'm saying? Um, they can get in that fucking ring. I just wish more boxers took Mayweather's approach and bought themselves out of their contracts and promoted themselves like he does, like he used to do. And I mean, if I rather control who I'm gonna fight instead of my manager controlling who I'm gonna fight, there might be some guys I really want to fight. My manager ain't gonna let me do it. You know, I'd rather be in control of that, and I can cut out the middleman and get my own money. But that's another topic for another day. I just wanted to touch on the Manny Pacquiao, Terence Crawford potential fight, potential super fight. Um, that's how you know Manny Pacquiao is a legend because he's 42 and he can still generate this type of buzz. And people really shouldn't have had that much confidence in him at this point in his career, but they do. Those are tried and true fans. But I'm sorry, man. Bug gonna whoop that ass. My money on TC. All right, y'all. Oh shit.